Anyone hear about that? You know push-pull, I hope. Okay. Push, for example, is I hate you. Pull is I love you. Right? I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you. Push, pull, push, pull. If you include that in your interactions, will it spice it up? Of course. Especially if you're someone who's a people pleaser, who's just very agreeable. No matter what someone says, you're like, yes, I agree, and just repeat what they say. If you start adding some pushes, suddenly it sparks it up. Now people hear about this. Oh, push, pull, that's a good concept. Let me try it out. And they'll get some good references. That's great. Good first step, but don't stop there. That's not the goal. Push-pull should not be something that you do. It shouldn't be something that you're even conscious of. And you're like, here comes the push, here comes the pull. It should just naturally happen when you're being what? Real. No? Right? It's interesting, right? Say people-pleaser person uses push-pull to spice up interactions. If you analyze it, why is that person a people-pleaser? They're being fake. And then they're trying to tweak that, and oh, maybe if I do the push-pull, which still isn't really me, fakeness, trying to fix fakeness with fakeness. Doesn't work. Instead, if you're just being real, there's going to be natural disagreements. Push-pull happens naturally. Right? When you talk to someone and you're just being yourself, there are going to be things you agree upon, things you disagree upon. You don't need to calculate, now is when I'm going to disagree. It just naturally happens. Okay? So if you think of this idea, if I actually get to the cause and I'm just being real, it takes care of push-pull. The same with the whole, like, are you going to be direct or indirect? When it comes to your intention, always be direct. There is no indirect. Indirect is fake. Indirect is scamming. Now, in the words, it doesn't matter what you say. You could be, quote unquote, what people call indirect in the words, right? That's like old school social tips. It wasn't as advanced back then, so everyone would just focus on what you say. There was that assumption that, say, you know, if you like someone, being direct is telling that person, I like you. And being indirect is saying anything other than that, right? Very old school, outdated mentality. In reality, the words, you could say whatever. You could say, I like dinosaurs, and be direct, right? I like dinosaurs as long as the intention is, say, I like you. I like dinosaurs. They'll feel it. That there is really what's at the cause. You got to fix that. Once you're actually being real, things start falling into place. If you take the past month of interactions, people you've talked to, level of fakeness, what percentage? And fakeness doesn't necessarily mean bad, right? It's not like, oh, how fake is it? It's like, just how much did you hide? How much of it was what you really thought? You wanted to say something, you actually said it, right? You want to say no, you say no. You want to say yes, you say yes, versus the opposite. How much were you trying to just say to please the other person, right? If you know someone's into something, you're like, well, I'm not really into it, but they are. It'll make them happy if I say I am too. So you're just trying to please them. No personal boundaries. The percentage is high, something to work on. And you really can't cheat this. You know, you think you can cheat your way there. Eventually, it'll come and get you, right? Even if you make a friend out of hiding parts of who you are, there's going to be that point in that friendship where you're going to have to truly let them get to know you, or the friendship will suffer. Same with a relationship, right? And even if you think of those types of results, say you have a friendship or relationship where it's built on authenticity, just how terrible is that? Right? Just like walking around on eggshells. That's sadly a lot of relationships people have, a lot of friendships. It's like they're still insecure in those instances. If you're insecure around your friends, what the fuck? What does that mean? What do you mean you're insecure around your friends? Why do you have to hide stuff and care so much? Oh, my friends. If you're insecure around your partner, what the fuck? That's not good. That's not normal. And that's signs of you not being honest. You hiding parts of who you are. Okay, a great book, by the way, that takes this to the extreme. I don't agree with everything in this book, by the way, but I love some of the ideas and just how extreme it is to kind of just put this at the forefront of your mind, is Radical Honesty. Read that book, all right? Again, his views are very extreme. This is word of mouth that I've heard. But at his, say, workshops, he'll have people record videos of their entire lives. So say I were to say, take you up front, sit you here, there's cameras, and it's like one by one, you have 10 minutes, tell the group here your life story, but the real life story, not the one you tell your friends, not the one you tell your parents, not the one you even tell yourself. What really happened? Like, how was life so far? And people start, you know, opening up, sharing a lot of just very personal experience, vulnerable experience, the stuff that, again, you really just keep for you, right? That's another good audit. How many secrets do you just keep for yourself, right? How much of what actually happened in terms of who you are in your life do other people know about? So people will share that with the group. And then after that, he gives them the recording and he's like, send it to your friends, your relatives, your people you work with, everyone. Right? So it's all those people you're like, oh, but they'll know, they'll find out the secrets are very triggering. Now, doesn't mean you need to go that extreme, but it's an interesting thought experiment. Right? Same with relationships. He's like, with your partner, you should sit down and talk about all of your past sexual experiences in extreme detail, and partners and this and this and this and this. Okay? Again, radical honesty. There are so many people who would cut off their hand, their arm, who would give anything to have your problems. Let that land, right? No matter how your problems are, that little voice in your head like, oh, it's so hard and this is this. Like, so many people would love to trade spots with you. They'd love to have your problems. They're like, well, please give me your problems. Please, please, please. When you're in those little like, oh, it's scary, I don't want to, and you start overthinking and worrying what people think of you, you can just feel the pull, just kind of like, just live up here in your mind. Get back in the body, right? Whether it's just jumping up, like tapping yourself on the chest, like, come on, let's go. It's like back to this, right? Even just the pain of like hitting your arm, it's like, ooh, there's some attention to the present moment. Get out of the mind. Get out of those little mental movies. It's like, here you go. Okay? And I mean, even in life, if you think of just, you know, like the sad ideal that we are all conditioned to try to move towards is we're all trying to move towards this life of zero challenges, zero discomfort, where everything goes according to plan. If you've played video games, ultimately what we want in life is to be on God mode, right? Where it's like no matter what you do, you succeed. And it's easy and it's just like predictable. But we fail to realize that if that were to happen in life, it'd be very boring, very flat. It sucks the soul out of it, right? Even those moments, like those challenging times, you're like, oh, I'm a little scared, and you actually take right action, you get that boost of self-esteem, that boost of just bravery. Those are the moments you remember in life, right? How much of your, you know, quote-unquote comfort zone or derping around do you actually remember? It just kind of flies by, right? It's like the times where you're very present are those times where there is a bit of pressure, a bit of a challenge, a bit of adversity. That's when you lock in. That's when you don't have the luxury to just kind of daydream and derp out. Okay, so some key perspectives to remind yourself here. And the other one too, actually one last one with social anxiety is just reflect back on how sick you are, perhaps, of your life so far and your comfort zone so far. All right? That's the big one. It's like we've gotten way too used to tolerating mediocrity, tolerating being in, again, this very kind of just derp, meek state. And you might say that's not true. Like all of you here, like if you just think of your general life, day to day, typical day in the life, that's what you like. That's what you're addicted to. That's success for you. Let that land. Typical day in the life, whatever that is. It might be a shitty day in the life. You might be like, oh, well, it sucks. My typical day in the life, that's not very fun. That's why I want to work on myself. That's why I'm here. A part of you believes that, but perhaps not enough. If you truly did believe that, you would do whatever it took to disrupt this. Whatever it took. Right? If someone came up to you and started punching you in the stomach, would you move? Yes or no? Yeah. You wouldn't just take it like, oh, right? And let's just say to move, though, it was like very hard to move. Like people were holding you and pulling you back and you had to like really put in a lot of effort to move. Would you still move if someone's punching you in the stomach? Yes. The more you're disgusted, the more you're like, enough of this, the more you can actually start stepping up. These are all external tools, but key to remember. We really lack this, right? A lot of people just are used to tolerating, even the past couple of years, right? You're just sitting at home for the most part. I mean, I hope not, but maybe, right? It's like sitting at home, just tolerating, and it's zapping out a lot of just braveness from the world, like what it means to be brave. And it's to the point where, say you even struggle with social anxiety, right? Of course, let go of that, but temporarily on the external side, just remind yourself, hey, here's a challenge and an opportunity for me to be brave, for me to actually rise up to the occasion. And even if it's like, well, it's just me and myself, no one else will know. It doesn't matter if no one else will know. You know. And you'll have those references of, I stepped up, I was brave, I got this. Okay? This is, no joke, what actually allowed me to move to Los Angeles. Okay? Originally from Switzerland, extremely shy, couldn't talk to anyone. Started putting myself out there. Was so scary. The scariest thing ever. Okay, started putting myself out there, talking to people, and with every reference where I was scared and I took action, it was a little +1 in terms of the bravery. +1 in terms of, hey, there was a scary challenge, I overcame it. Bring it. Where's the next one? Next one, bring it. Next one, bring it, bring it, bring it. And if I look back, I'm like, well, of all these instances of challenges I've overcome, and whenever I'm faced with a challenge, for the most part, based upon my past, I will rise up to it. It is extremely empowering. Now, as you know with social anxiety, though, a lot of it has to do with letting go. But as a good first step, if you just can't take action, you're paralyzed, view it as, hey, there's a challenge, step it up. Okay? And you won't see it much around you. You know, it's crazy. Even, and this is also what really got me thinking about this, right? If you think of the past, say, couple days at this point, right, with the war in Ukraine, right, which is, again, absolutely terrible, it is just fascinating and really inspiring and empowering to see how the president of Ukraine stepped it up. I don't know if any of you have been following this. Do you know his story, how crazy it is? Yeah. So this guy, and again, I'm paraphrasing off little clips that I've seen, apparently was a comedian. So that was his job prior to being president. He was a comedian, and I think he played in sketches a role of being president. And then people are like, you should actually be president. You're pretty good. And he was like, oh, why not? And he ran for president, and he won, and now he's president. So, up until the past couple days, a lot of people would mock him. It's like, oh, well, president of Ukraine, you know, he's a comedian. What do you expect? He's not going to do much. Oh, there's walk. And then you just saw the flip where this guy's like stepping it up. He's not leaving the city. He's like fighting. He's like in the trenches. And you're just like, whoa, like, there you go. Like someone who everyone would look down, like a little comedian, like actually rising up. And I mean, shit, in today's world, it's like probably going to go down as like, hey, there was a fucking hero, right? And if people are resonating with that, why? Because it's like there's a glimpse of some bravery, right? There's a glimpse of, and even like America was like, hey, we'll sneak you out. He's like, I don't need to get snuck out. It's like, I don't need a fucking ride. Give me some ammo. Let's go. And you see all these cases, like it's like no joke. It's super sad, terrible, and dark. But if you actually go through, say, online and kind of look at what's going on there, you'll see all these stories of people. There was one today, right? It was a couple who was going to get married, and then, you know, war broke out. So they got married, instantly got married, and then just took machine guns and went out in the street and ready to fight. And you see like lines out the door of just people signing up to fight, right? And then, I mean, even just putting in perspective, then you could think of just, say you, it's like, I'm scared to talk to that person. It's like, that person, what, right? So having those clear examples of bravery and reminding yourself of that, right? Letting it ignite that bravery in you that you might have stuffed down or ignored for a bit, and also putting in perspective just how privileged a lot of the scary things that we deal with are, is key.